Hello, everyone. Love knows no boundaries, and age is just a number when a spark flies between two people. Today, we've prepared something special for you, the top 10 new films of 2022-2023, where mature women and young men explore the wildest emotions. From comedies to deep psychological dramas, this list has it all. May-December 2023. This film is based on a real-life scandal from the 1990s. Gracie and Joe are a couple with a huge age gap, whose relationship began when Joe was just 13. 20 years later, they live a quiet suburban life, raising children and baking custom cakes. But their idyll is tested when actress Elizabeth arrives to play Gracie in a film. Elizabeth begins to imitate Gracie's mannerisms, asking uncomfortable questions of her husband and children, and unearthing skeletons from their closets. We see Joe, who has spent his entire life under the influence of a strong-willed woman, begin to realize he never really had a childhood. Tensions in the household mount daily, turning the drama into a true psychological thriller about the boundaries of morality. The Perfect Find, 2023. A story about the dangers of mixing work and personal life. 40-year-old Jenna returns to New York after a high-profile career and personal fiasco. She begs her arch-rival Darcy for a job as an editor at her fashion magazine. At a party, Jenna kisses a charming man, only to discover the next morning that he's her new colleague, a videographer, and worse, her boss's only son. Eric is only 20, full of ideas and energy, and Jenna realizes that's exactly what she's been missing. But their affair must remain a closely guarded secret, or Darcy will ruin Jenna's career forever. This classic melodrama with a great soundtrack raises an important question. Is it worth sacrificing stability for feelings that society deems wrong? L'été dernier, 2023. The story centers on Anne, a successful juvenile defense attorney whose life appears flawless, a successful career, a luxurious home, and a strong family. However, this well-established order is severely tested by the arrival of Theo, her husband's troubled son from a previous marriage. The mutual estrangement and coldness between stepmother and stepson unexpectedly develops into a dangerous emotional attachment that threatens everything the heroine holds dear. The film masterfully analyzes the inner struggle of a woman forced to balance professional duty and a sudden personal crisis. It is a profound reflection on the price of a moment's weakness and the ethical compromises a person is willing to make to maintain the status quo and conceal a truth that can, in an instant, destroy the fruits of years of labor. No Hard Feelings, 2023. Jennifer Lawrence is simply unstoppable here. Her character, Maddie, is a 32-year-old wild child who's about to lose her house due to debt. Looking for a way out, she comes across an ad from wealthy parents offering a brand new Buick to anyone who agrees to date their 19-year-old son, Percy, before he leaves for Princeton. Maddie thinks it'll be a cakewalk, getting the inexperienced guy into bed and taking the car keys. But Percy turns out to be a deeply introverted man who cares more about the dogs at the shelter than dating. Maddie has to literally storm his fortress, from awkward attempts at seduction on the beach to joint fights with teenagers. Ultimately, their unlikely alliance blossoms into a genuine friendship, where Maddie... Escandal, 2023. The Spanish know a thing or two about passion. 42-year-old Inez attempts to end her life, but is saved by Hugo, a young teenager. A bond develops between them that quickly develops into a painful addiction. Inez begins to literally stalk him, manipulate him, and destroy his life for the sake of her presence. This is a deeply dark story about how love turns into a mental disorder and the catastrophic consequences of uncontrolled passion. My Mother's Wedding, 2023. Three sisters return to their family home for their mother's third wedding. Among the guests is a young man whose presence sparks many questions and whispers. This is a story about how the right to happiness has no expiration date, and how even adult children must learn to accept their parents' choice, even if their new partner is young enough to be their brother. Good luck to you, Leo Grande. 2022. Nancy Stokes is a former school teacher who has lived her entire life in a boring and predictable marriage. Finding herself alone, she decides it's time to finally experience true pleasure. She books a hotel room and invites Leo Grande, a charming and very young specialist in ladies' services. But instead of a banal affair, Nancy gets something more. Leo turns out to be a profound conversationalist who helps her accept her body and open up to the world. This is a surprisingly warm film about self-discovery and the idea that it's never too late to start a new life.
Oh God, this is crazy. Nancy? It's terrible. It's wrong. Nancy?
Well, that's our selection. Each of these stories is unique in its own way and makes you think about how unpredictable life can be. Which of these films have you already seen, and which would you like to add to your tonight list? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And don't forget, there are many more great selections on the channel, so stay tuned.